Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel, and today is our conspiracy day. And apparently we have a list of conspiracy theories that ended up being true. So there's no need to hold up time, you guys. Let's hurry up and hop right into this video, okay?
Missing Japanese citizens. One night in June 1978, a 22-year-old single mother of two kids named Yaiko Taguchi was working her usual shift in Tokyo, Japan's cabaret Hollywood. After finishing her shift right at around midnight, Yaiko left the cabaret through the front door and was never seen again. At first, nobody thought that anything serious had happened to Yaiko. In fact, several years later her manager was questioned, and he claims that everyone thought she had quit when she failed to show up. At around that time, there had been rumors going around that several North Korean spies were working undercover in Japan looking to abduct innocent citizens and hold them as hostages back in North Korea. However, this was seen by the Japanese government as nothing more than a conspiracy theory that couldn't possibly be true. Sadly, the missing case of Yaiko went cold, and it wasn't until almost a decade later that a clue to her whereabouts emerged following a disturbing chain of events. In November 1987, as South Korea was preparing to host the Olympics in the capital city of Seoul, a Korean Airlines plane blew up in mid-air as it was flying over the Andaman Sea, taking the lives of 115 innocent people. During the investigation, it was revealed that two North Korean agents acting under direct orders from the North Korean government had planted a bomb in an overhead storage compartment before getting off at the first layover in Abu Dhabi. As the authorities were closing in on the two suspects, one of them took his life with a cyanide-laced cigarette, but the South Korean government was able to arrest the other agent responsible for the attack. During her interrogation, it was revealed that she had been training for that mission for 6 years, and that for 3 of them she had been paired with Yaiko Taguchi, who had taught her how to speak and act like a Japanese woman so she could fly under the radar. As it was later revealed, Yaiko wasn't the only woman who had been kidnapped by the North Korean government. As of today, 17 Japanese citizens have been officially confirmed by the Japanese government as having been abducted by North Korea from 1977 to 1983. Disturbingly, a lot of them were shamelessly kidnapped in the middle of the day and thrown on a boat to North Korea. You might think that the victims were involved in something shady that put them on the North Korean government's radar, but the investigations actually suggest that most of them were average citizens who just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Right, they just snatching people up, like... What I tell y'all think every conspiracy is just, oh, it's just a conspiracy. And just because these governments come out telling y'all, oh, no, we don't know, it's just conspiracy, whatever. I am not saying every conspiracy has truth to it, okay? But where there's smoke, there's fire, okay?
One woman was captured while she was walking to a knitting class, and 2 others were kidnapped on a vacation to Europe. Another one, a 13-year-old girl, was taken as she was walking back home from school. Some of these victims were kidnapped for identity theft purposes, while others, like Yaiko, were forcefully brought to North Korea to teach the Japanese language and culture to North Korean spies. After the kidnappings were confirmed beyond the shadow of a doubt, the North Korean government had no choice but to come forward and apologize. But they claimed that only 5 of the 17 kidnapping victims...
Part that irritates me. Apologize. Like, that's all you gonna give is an apology? Oh, you apologize, that's gonna make it better. We need something more than an apology. Like, apologize.
Were still alive. Over the next few years, the North Korean government would send what they would claim to be the cremated remains of some of the deceased victims back to Japan. However, as DNA testing would quickly reveal, pretty much all of the remains were fake, leading the Japanese government to believe that many more of the kidnapping victims were still alive. To this day, the North Korean government has stuck to its story, claiming that there were only 13 kidnapping victims and that the ones who were still alive were sent back safely to Japan. Shockingly, while the Japanese government has officially confirmed 17 kidnappings, the list of potential victims suggests that the true number could be as high as 800.
Literally.
Sadly, given the current political situation, it's unlikely we'll ever see the full extent of these abductions, or see the North Korean government held truly accountable for its horrific crimes.
That is sick, and that's horrible, and that's terrible. Like, I be telling you, these governments be making laws for us to follow, but then they do what they want and can just get away with it. Man, that's upsetting. Like, are you kidding me? And they all and all they had to offer was an apology. And oh yeah, we'll send you back the cremated remains of the people who passed away. And shocker, they were fake. Like, And then, oh, like somebody really gonna believe that y'all only had however many victims that they said that they had. Like they gonna believe you. You already been caught lying and kidnapping people. Are you
Heart attack gun.
be for real?
Back in the 70s, a journalist
I've heard
named
about
Seymour
this.
Hersh published an article in the New York
Not this
Times.
specific story, but I've heard about the heart attack gun conspiracy theory, like how they take out some of these celebrities, you know, stuff like that, and saying it was a heart attack or it was this, and apparently there are devices that can be used to, you know, make that stuff happen to the victim, the target.
In which he accused the CIA of several assassination attempts on both foreign and American politicians who they considered to be anti-war dissidents. Due to these allegations, the US Senate put the CIA under investigation for alleged covert action abuses, which resulted in the release of 14 reports on major abuses committed by the CIA, FBI, and NSA. The majority of the reports included accusations of crimes such as opening and resealing US citizens' private mail for several years and illegally surveilling Black Power activists. Although these claims are obviously pretty serious, they paled in comparison to one particular accusation, or conspiracy theory, which alleged that the CIA had developed a pistol that could fire a poison dart over 300 feet, take a person's life, and leave absolutely no trace as to the cause of death. As it was later revealed, this theory turned out to be true, and the development of the poison dart gun was just one part of the program called MK Naomi.
MK Naomi? MK Ultra? Okay. Anyways, now if they got that, what just imagine what they got now. But y'all be thinking every conspiracy theory is just, there's no way it could be true. You know, y'all hold tight to these words that these people tell y'all. Whatever. Like I said, you better start using that common sense.
Which the CIA had sought to develop weapons for biological warfare. In 1975,
and that part about them surveilling, having surveillance on black activists and stuff like that, they didn't have to even prove that to be like, oh my gosh, to be true. Like, duh, I'm gonna believe that right off the bat. Anybody going against their little system that they got going, or that can cause any type of disruption and stuff like that, oh, you better know, a target will be on your back, okay?
William Colby, the CIA director at the time, had to testify in front of the committee that was investigating the agency. During questioning, he claimed that the CIA had developed a host of biological weapons as part of a plan to eliminate German leaders during World War II, but that their research had continued until well after the war.
Wow.
He also mentioned that the poison dart gun was almost completely silent on account of the battery that was housed inside the handle, and that it had been specifically designed for the target to feel nothing more than a mosquito bite when the dart struck. Interestingly, the agency had used a specific shellfish toxin to make it impossible for anyone to know what the cause of death was, leading forensic pathologists to believe that the victim had suffered an inexplicable heart attack. It wouldn't help pathologists that the dart was designed to melt inside the body so that it only left a small red mark where it entered the victim.
Boy, they was working hard, huh? They thought of everything to invent that dart to make sure that their hands are wiped clean. I'm telling you, when some of these people, they be talking about how they passed away, especially if it's a person that you know that was out here going against the wave, out here speaking out about stuff that's wrong in our society, you know, stuff like that, or just conspiracy theories that's making y'all be like, hey, y'all might want to pay attention to this, and all of a sudden they end up not here no more. I know me, and I'm already giving the side eye, like, all right, you know, sound like them folks got to them, okay?
When asked if the heart attack gun, as it was nicknamed, was ever used on anyone, the director alleged that it had only been used for experiments and that there were no records of actual use. As part of the investigation, the CIA had to hand over the gun to the committee, and there are some pretty wild pictures of the committee members analyzing the gun as William Colby answers their questions about it. Normally you'd expect to see something like the heart attack gun in a spy movie, and it's pretty wild to think that if they hadn't put it under...
No, they put it in the movies, y'all, to let y'all know this is stuff that they're already doing. Like, it be entertainment, and also letting y'all know this is what they're already doing. They not, where y'all think they getting this stuff from to put in the movies? They not just grasping it out of nowhere like the abyss. Like, and if they haven't done it, they thinking about it. They'll be working their way up to doing it. Like, come on, you guys, Come on, I'm gonna need y'all to dig deep now. Dig deep, okay? Stop just looking at everything on the surface. Like, just dig a little deeper now. Come on. What I tell you? And they said it was supposedly originally supposed to be used on, was it Russia, you guys? I don't know. Okay, the man just said it, and I already don't know. Whatever. Whoever it was supposed to be used on. Didn't I tell y'all in one of my last videos, they always try to make stuff seem like, oh, it's originally for this, but it be, okay. Yeah, okay, that's the original reason that they gave y'all. And you think they just gonna stop doing what they doing? You think they just gonna stop experimenting and not looking into other possible ways this can be used on for other things, you know, that they feel like when they need to get somebody up out of here that's in their way, like, oh, let me start the video.
Investigation, they would have probably gotten away with using it for who knows what purposes. It's also pretty crazy to think that if that's the kind of stuff they were developing back in the 70s, imagine the kind of technology they have their hands on now.
Ain't that what I just said?
The hearing was the only time the heart attack gun was ever shown publicly, and to this day, it remains unclear what happened to it after the investigation.
See, I don't like that. Where is it at?
Rogue waves. Sailors often get a reputation for making up stuff they claim to have seen during their time out at sea, and because there's no one there to refute their claims, they sometimes get away with some pretty tall tales. For centuries, sailors all around the world had talked about seeing monster waves on the open sea that would allegedly reach over 100 feet in height. In 1826, a French captain claimed that he had seen a 108-foot tall wave in the Indian Ocean. Even though he had 3 sailors with him who backed up his claims, when he came back to the mainland, he was publicly ridiculed by the scientific community, as it was widely believed that it was impossible for a wave to be higher.
Scientists always thinking they know everything. Y'all don't know everything. Okay, I know y'all spend y'all whole lives experimenting and trying to find answers to stuff. Okay, but you don't know everything. Okay, let's.
30 feet tall.
You get me wrong.
For a long while after that, dozens of people continued to claim sightings of these monstrous waves in the middle of the ocean. But with no real evidence other than eyewitness testimonies, the existence of these waves fell into the urban legend or conspiracy theory category. In the 80s and early 90s, the Draupner platform was set up in the North Sea off the coast of Norway to extract natural gas. As part of the protocol that was carried out to see if the platform was stable enough to withstand the rough seas, a wave height recorder was installed on the platform. On New Year's Day in 1995, the sensor recorded an 84-foot tall wave, which served as the first real piece of evidence for the existence of rogue waves. After this incident, a lot of people started wondering how many of the sailors from previous centuries had been telling the truth. What's more disturbing than that is that there were probably hundreds of disappeared sailors from all around the world who had come across a rogue wave, also known as a monster wave or a freak wave. But because most people who encountered 100-foot tall rogue waves generally didn't live to tell the tale, their testimony went down into the depths of the ocean with them. Since the Draupner wave of 1995, there's been a growing interest in rogue waves brewing in the scientific community. A few years ago, a professor at the Australian National University had estimated that at any given moment there are 10 rogue waves active in the world's oceans. As of today, a rogue wave is usually defined as a wave that is twice as large as the largest waves that come up in a particular area. And while the root cause of rogue waves continues to be investigated, it's generally accepted that these monster waves appear when 2 wave crests join together at the exact right time, resulting in a massive wave that can sink even the largest ships and oil rigs. Interestingly, it's also been discovered that rogue waves can take place in large lakes. In 1975, a freighter named the SS Edmund Fitzgerald sank in Lake Superior under some pretty mysterious circumstances, with a lot of people in the scientific community coming up with all kinds of hypotheses to explain the incident. It wasn't until several years later that the scientists started theorizing that the vessel could have fallen prey to a set of 3 consecutive killer rogue waves. A phenomenon referred to as the Three Sisters, in which the first wave destabilizes the ship, the second wave hits the ship's deck before it can stabilize again, and the third wave overloads the ship with more water than it can take on. If this were true, it could also provide an explanation for the mysterious sinking of other large ships in oceans around the world over the past few centuries, but this might be a bit more difficult to prove.
Look at the scientists trying to come in talking about, oh, rogue wave this, rogue wave that, like that now they discovered it and all that. Bye. Don't be coming up here trying to take no credit now and acting like, oh, we looked into it and this is our findings. Don't want to hear it, okay? Those sailors try to tell y'all, and just because y'all didn't see it for yourself, y'all just was like, there's no possible way due to my scientific, uh, I play too much, calculations that could be true, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? And then they see it for themselves. Oh, and then now they want to jump on the bandwagon. Oh, now we want to experiment or run tests or whatever they be doing. Like, bye. We don't want to hear it. They already tried. They already told us. They already tried to, tell y'all. Y'all had us over here thinking it's a conspiracy theory or it's not true or they're crazy or something like that. First of all, it's the ocean. The ocean is scary, like, and it's full of most of our water, like on Earth. Like, what are you talking about? It's the ocean. It's literally like, it's crazy, like, out there. It's a madhouse. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about when you're talking about the ocean? At this point, I don't think we should be saying anything is impossible to happen out there on the ocean. Okay, again, hello, we haven't even experienced all of the ocean as far as like diving, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to diving and stuff like that, and those creepy coral or critters that they got down there looking even more creepier the deeper that you go. So like, okay, yeah.
Poisonous alcohol. In January 1920, the 18th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution was successfully ratified, triggering a 13-year period known as Prohibition, during which the production, sale, and transportation of alcohol was made illegal. During this period, the government enforced some pretty strict measures to prevent bootlegging of alcohol, which made the alcohol black market flourish like crazy. It was pretty much a playground for the mafia, in which the government would raid one bar and another one would crop up in just a few days' time. While all of this was happening, there were some pretty messed up rumors floating around that the US government was taking extreme measures to make sure people weren't consuming alcohol. These included allegations that the government was intentionally poisoning alcohol to make people who consumed it sick. For a while, this remained something of a conspiracy theory, but things took a turn pretty quickly on New Year's Day 1927 when 41 people died from alcohol poisoning at New York's Bellevue Hospital. Disturbingly, the autopsies revealed that a lot of the victims had been drinking industrial methanol, otherwise known as wood alcohol, which can be fatal even at low doses. It turns out that the government had forced companies to denature industrial alcohol to make it undrinkable since 1906, which was far before Prohibition. But when the crackdown on alcohol started, the government ordered these companies to add quinine, methyl alcohol, and other toxic chemicals to discourage people from drinking it.
Y'all was out here poisoning people to discourage them from drinking alcohol, and then y'all actually listen to them. First of all, this what makes me mad about this, because this is what I mean when I say being too much of a rule follower. At some point, your morals have to step in and just being a decent human being. No, I'm not doing that. Are you crazy? Like, you want me to basically people to discourage them from drinking alcohol, and that was the best thing, like, idea that y'all could come up with to discourage people from drinking alcohol. They better have gotten some justice. Let me start the video. What happened
was that if black market dealers knew their alcohol had been poisoned, they wouldn't dare distribute it knowing how dangerous it would be for their customers to consume. I guess they forgot to factor in that the demand for alcohol at the time was absolutely insane, and that black market dealers didn't care who lived or died from consuming their product. It wasn't until December 1933, 6 years after the Bellevue incident, that the federal government finally toned down their abstinence from alcohol policies. But by then, thousands of Americans had already been poisoned with contaminated alcohol.
6 years later, huh?
Gorillas. Nowadays, there's really nothing too shocking about seeing a gorilla in a zoo or on TV, but there was once a time when gorillas were considered to be in the same category as the chupacabra, the Jersey Devil, Bigfoot, and the Loch Ness Monster. I was able to find that up until a couple of centuries ago, gorillas were considered cryptids, which are animals that are believed by some to exist somewhere in the wild, but whose existence has never been proven. With most of these creatures, alleged sightings often turn out to be hoaxes, but obviously in the case of gorillas, what were once just rumors turned out to be true. Western explorers wouldn't come across a gorilla until around the 1500s, when an English explorer named Andrew Battelle was captured by the Portuguese off the coast of West Africa. While he was held captive on the mainland, Battelle described these disturbing, giant, ape-like creatures that would occasionally prowl around his campfire, but because he had never seen a similar creature before, he described them more as monsters than as animals. Battelle's description sent the rest of the world into what we can only call a gorilla frenzy, with all kinds of rumors being spread about these allegedly bloodthirsty, dangerous creatures living in exotic parts of the world. Over the next couple hundred years, the buzz around gorillas grew as explorers in Africa sent back illustrations of gorillas to Europe, which were often given to royalty and emperors as rare gifts. If you were to ask any European back then what a gorilla was, they would have described it in a similar way to how we describe Bigfoot or the chupacabra nowadays. They were thought of more as mythical monsters than regular animals. It wasn't until over 200 years or so later that an American naturalist named Thomas S. Savage found a gorilla skull in 1847 during an expedition to Africa, which was the first piece of real proof for the existence of these animals. Naturally, this triggered a bunch of new expeditions to the area, and between 1855 and 1859, French explorer Paul Duchaillu confirmed the existence of gorillas and even brought some back dead. Just as Andrew Battelle before him, Paul Duchaillu also described gorillas as these savage, bloodthirsty creatures which stuck in the public mind for a long time. Around 15 years later, some German explorers brought back a baby gorilla from Africa to Liverpool, even putting up some towels on the ship so he could swing around and entertain himself on the long journey back. As you can probably imagine, as soon as the ship arrived back in Liverpool, people started flocking around the hotel where the gorilla was allegedly being kept to catch a glimpse of the once mythical creature. To the public's dismay, Pongo the gorilla wasn't the massive, violent monster they had thought, but rather a cute little 2-year-old gorilla who loved to play with dogs. A few years later in 1902, a German explorer named Robert von Beringe killed 2 mountain gorillas, which were huge in comparison to the baby gorilla that the previous German explorers had brought back. And that was really the first time the public was able to understand what a full-sized adult gorilla looked like. It's pretty crazy to think that at some point these animals that we now see as normal were once seen as legendary monsters. Interestingly, if you really look at the research, there are a ton of other animals that we now take for granted that were once brushed off as hoaxes, including kangaroos, platypuses, giant squids, and Komodo dragons. With so many of these myths turning out to be true, it really makes you wonder how many animals are out there that we have no idea even exist.
I don't know, man. Again, they're getting these stories from somewhere. I'm just saying. But if you guys made it to the end of the video, of course, thank you guys for watching. And don't forget, I post Monday through Friday. And for specific uploads, you guys, just check that down in the description box below. Yeah, but yeah, thanks for watching, you guys. Bye.